Welcome to the Rise Up podcast, where we explore the stories of business leaders rising above challenges and driving innovation. This is actually kind of our new season with our new name, the Rise Up podcast. We were the All Things Energy podcast, but we really kind of saw ourselves really going after business leaders, innovation, change. And so we're excited to have our first official guest on the Rise Up podcast, Ryan Carpenter, the COO of Armstrong Plumbing, and Electric.
Yes,
Ryan, welcome.
Thank you. I
to the Rise Up podcast.
Me on.
Absolutely. No, we're so excited to have you, especially representing a company that has been impacting, Texas, West Texas for, tell us again, how long?
91 years.
91 years. Gosh. We live in a culture that's so fast paced. Just to hear those numbers is really, I was on the phone with a law firm in Arizona, like 100 years law firm. I'm like, that is a long time. Yeah. So I kind of love even just jumping right into it. This is your family, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. And generationally, how far back does it go?
So I'm fourth generation. So my great granddad, E.H. Armstrong, started the business.
Yep.
So that's where the Armstrong comes in. He had two daughters. And so therefore Carpenter and Lowry took over after that with the plumbing division. But it's been run by the Carpenter side of the family since pretty much the 60s.
Yeah. And carry that same legacy and name, Armstrong.
Yes, sir.
So I'm curious, how did your grandfather get into this? I mean, just like, what was that? Your great-grandfather, rather.
Great-grandfather, yes, sir.
How did that start? That's always fascinating to me.
I think, honestly, it's just opportunity. I mean, it just presented itself. Yep. He did start out as a supply house. So he was doing what they called at the time white goods. So appliances for homes, residences. They had coin boxes on the outside of houses. Technicians would go collect those coins. Residents would put coins in there, I think a quarter a day or something like that to keep the refrigerator running, keeping their food, at temperature. And so that's kind of how he started. And then eventually saw an increase with refrigeration as far as like Piggly Wiggly's and the Furs supermarkets went. And so he mainly serviced those, did some other the supermarkets around town, and then saw an opportunity with HVAC. Okay.
I'm going to do a little quick side thing.
Yep.
You said Piggly Wiggly.
Yes, sir.
I literally said that name. I hadn't said that name in years because before we moved to Texas, I lived on the East Coast, South Carolina, Georgia, and there were Piggly Wigglies, but I don't see many Piggly Wigglies out here in Texas.
No, they used to be out here though.
They used to be. That's great. And that was because your great grandfather was it actually Lubbock?
Yes.
Was like the region, the market?
So I know Furs was out here. I don't know for fact Piggly Wiggly's was out here, but I know we traveled all as far as Austin and stuff to do work. So to all I know, they could have been out there doing the work.
I really wish we still had Piggly Wiggly because just that name alone just makes you want to. Yeah, that's great. Cool. And so, great-grandfather gets started in it, starts adding some other divisions to it. When does some of the other divisions begin to kind of roll out, I guess, as you would see it today with the plumbing, air conditioning, and so forth? Was that later on?
So, like I said, he started what was called Armstrong Supply at the time.
Yep.
The two son-in-laws came into the picture. He was focused on HVAC. My great-granddad, E.H. Armstrong, was focused on HVAC and the supply side. The two brother-in-laws joined together, created a plumbing division. It was called C&L Plumbing at the time. When my great-grandfather passed in, I think, the 60s, they merged the two businesses together.
Yep.
And it may have been the 80s. My timeline, I was not born at the time,
right.
so there's a big range in there. But they merged the two businesses at his passing, and that's when we became Armstrong Mechanical.
Yeah.
And then up until 2016, we remained Armstrong Mechanical and rebranded in 2016 to add electrical to the services. So that's where we are, Armstrong Plumbing, Air and Electric today.
And that was almost 10 years ago, 26. It feels like yesterday, but it's like, that was almost 10 years ago. So what was the strategy in the rebranding? Did it kind of feel like that the services that Armstrong was providing just wasn't as known with the mechanical tagline? You've certainly been doing business for a long time, but.
Customers, we would get confusion where, are you a mechanic? Are you doing automotive? Those sort of things. So residential customers would think of us as mechanic or something like that with motors, which we do deal with motors, but we're doing more mechanical contracting. And so that's where the name was really in there. So just to make it easier for our residential customers, that's where we rebranded to Armstrong Plumbing, Air and Electric. We do not do construction on the electrical side right now, but we do service. And so customers were asking, hey, I've got some lights out here that are out. I've got something with my panel going on. Can y'all look at that too? Yep. At the time, we're having to say no. And so instead of keep saying no, let's figure out how we bring that in-house and then we'll service all three.
Because it's already relationships that you've got, that you've built up over the years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I always love, for a business that's been around as long as it has, what do you think were the the characteristics that allowed the longevity? And maybe it came from leadership, came from family. I'm just kind of curious what you've observed or heard over the years of what's allowed that Armstrong name to stand the test of time and to really stand out.
It's really letting the next generation come in and give their spin to where they want the business to go. It's adding that innovation. With myself, it's adding the design side of the business, three-dimensional design, bringing in technology, using robotics out in the field for layout, using iPads. We don't need paper out on every job site. We don't need it out at the customer's house. We can have an iPad out there, get everything pushed back to the office immediately, have it automatically transferred to billings, everything else. Just thinking about where we are today and what the customer's looking for and what we can be efficient.
So in just kind of looking out over the legacy and past, I'm curious, any kind of lessons or just when you think about, your previous generational leadership, anything that they kind of stood for of like, man, that lesson came out of our family from, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
I would say, don't say no. I mean, we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Whether the job's large to what we're used to.
Yep.
Whether it's small, we're going to take care of you. We'll make sure it's done right. And just that quality control piece of our business is something you don't see many others actually follow through with. They will say it day and night, but the quality control is where we definitely hit our stride.
So, and you referenced this, and so we'll dive into it in just a minute, but where did you kind of get introduced? Because you haven't spent, your entire career with Armstrong. I think you spent a little time outside of it, got exposed to some of the 3D design stuff. So tell us a little bit about your background and exactly kind of how you got exposed to some things that you're like, you know what, this would be great to bring, again, next level of innovation to Armstrong.
Started in the business in 2007. I think I was 14, 15 at the time, working in our sheet metal shop, running the CNC machine. So cutting out ductwork, cutting out sheet metal, forming it into ductwork, getting it ready to deliver out to job sites. Then started making deliveries, doing the install, got over to the plumbing side a little bit, and then moved into the design before I went to Dallas. So after I finished my degree at South Plains College, with a technical drafting degree.
Yep.
Went to Dallas for about 6 years, worked for a couple engineers doing plumbing design on Dallas Cowboys headquarters, SoFi Stadium, just big sports projects. Yeah. And then the second firm I worked at was like mega high schools. You're talking 600,000 square feet and up. High schools with all the outbuildings for athletics and everything else that go with that. So basically being able to bring that design software back with me is now taking us to another level where we may have one or two other shops in town that can offer this.
Yeah.
We're really running with it. We're being able to prefabricate things before we go out to the job site to install them. So again, we can check the quality in our shop before it goes out to the field.
What is the contractor industry? I mean, do they, again, because you said out here in West Texas, not as many companies are deploying that type of software design solution. Mm-hmm. So the contractors that you're working with, do they see that? The architects, are they like, hey, we really value to have this type of design stage in the implementation? Or what's that kind of feedback from?
So there are a handful of architects and engineers that value it. There are some that are a little bit old school. They may still be doing two-dimensional designs, those sort of things. What we're seeing a lot of is like people from Utah, from California, the generals coming in from there, or the architects and the engineers coming in from there. They're really driving it. So they're saying, hey, owner, look at the value that this can provide, because we can coordinate everything before we even get on site, before dirt's even moved.
Yep.
We can have everything coordinated to where we know where piping, ductwork, cable tray, med gas, structure, everything is going within the building before we even touch construction. Therefore, there's no more, rework. There's no extra change orders and cost added to the job. It's all done up front.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. I love it. And how long have you been in this role? You've kind of described it as the COO, Chief Operating Officer. Is that somewhat recent?
That's probably within a month.
Okay. So that's pretty new.
Last time we spoke, I don't know that I even had that title.
That's really great. So again, in its new stages, this may change and evolve, but what does a day in the life of COO look like in this stage?
It's pretty similar to what I was doing, I will say. I was doing the duties without the title, but I'm overseeing parts. So we have a huge parts department within our business that we hold anything and everything you can think of for plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. We don't want our guys having to go to a supply house every single time they need something. Yeah, we can have parts runners with delivery trucks around town just dropping things off to our men as they're working. And so overseeing some service side now. Service is something I've never worked in. I've never been on the service side of the business. So I'm having to educate myself as far as, how do we bill? How do we talk to the customers? How do we handle and document everything and dispatching and everything? and then overseeing the fabrication shop, trying to make sure that the equipment's still updated. We have stuff that's been in there since 30 plus years ago. We got to make sure that that's still running so that we're efficient. And then overseeing construction too. So there's a lot within our business that goes on, but also adding water quality division to the business. And so bringing in other revenue streams as well.
Do you do anything, and maybe this comes natural and maybe you're intentional in doing it? How do you expose yourself to what's going on in the industry? Paying attention or listening to see trends or technologies or tools or, AI now is thrown around there. What do you try to do to sharpen your own kind of tool belt, so to speak?
So I'm a part of several boards, ASHRAE, which is American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. I'm also a part of ASPE, so American Society of Plumbing Engineers. TACA, Texas Air Conditioning Contractors Association. Being a part of the boards, getting to know the engineers, the people that are designing the jobs for us, hearing what they're talking about in their offices, going through some different methods of construction. There's not always just hey, give us a bid and we'll get the job going. There's other methods of, hey, how about you build the budget with us? Let's talk through some options. And it's more of a design build type aspect. So there's those options as well.
Yeah, that's neat. And this may not be relevant, and maybe it is. Artificial intelligence, which certainly is impacting some industries dramatically, like legal firms, accounting, content creation, a lot of these things, but you're good old fashioned, got to work with your hands. You got to have expertise, human labor. It's harder to see where the overlap is. I'm kind of curious if you have a crystal ball, where do you see potentially the AI integration in the home services industries taking place?
What's cool is you can put sensors on these air conditioners for residential units now. And I'm sure you can do the same thing for water. But it's going to tell you before the unit goes out and the homeowner's stuck in the dark and in the cold or hot, we can actually have a sensor read back to our shop to say, hey, customer, we see that one of these elements is not reacting correctly. Can we come out and take a look at it before, next week, and you're just stuck in the 100-degree weather that we have out here in July?
And you're paying a bigger price because something just blew up.
It's an emergency fee at that point.
Yep.
And so we can help alleviate that with those sensors. But AI, just like with the water division that we're trying to add, I don't know how to just sit down and start structuring this thing, but having AI recognize and keep that history of what I've already put in the system and saying, hey, this is where we're going. You've already know what we've done and where we're coming from. How do we get this goal achieved? And it's just able to say, hey, look at structuring it this way, look at doing this. And then at that point, it's like, okay, we have some floor space over in this area of the building. We could definitely build this out and create a lab.
Yep. No, I think it's a great assistant in different ways of sometimes aggregating, compiling lots of disparate data points. So then I can take my knowledge, expertise at the human level and go, okay, now I really kind of take this, implement it, send the guys off. It's not displacing everything, but just kind of accelerating the decision-making, I think, process with lots of data points. So really fascinating. I like to kind of shift a little bit because, our company touches a lot of the energy space, energy efficiency, and the energy trends happening out there. And certainly you guys are no different, in terms of how do we reduce energy costs, efficiency, usage, and so forth. So what trends are you seeing, or what are clients talking to you about, or just what are you guys kind of trying to emphasize in this whole, how do we make energy more efficient, use less of it, so on and so forth?
So a lot of questions come about solar. Obviously, we don't touch solar. That's where you come into play. But there's a lot of interest in it right now. And that comes into play. And then as far as generators and those sort of things come, with everything going to ERCOT here in Lubbock and everybody switching over to their own providers and everything, generators we're getting calls about generators left and right. And so it's not more about efficiency there, but it's what if this happens? I want to be covered.
And sadly, again, no one has a crystal ball. We don't know what the future holds in terms of will we always have power. I've kind of said this, we're at the end of the railroad from the wiring standpoint, like West Texas, Lubbock, like literally we're at the end of the transmission line for ERCOT, which I don't know if that means anything, but electricity runs.
Any disconnect and
we're going to be feeling that. And so, absolutely. On the HVAC front, right? There's probably been massive changes and continue to be changes.
Refrigerations the refrigerant that we're having to use in systems is all completely changing. And there's, it's costly though. That's the bad side of this. It's a costly thing to the residents and the owner of the property. So therefore we have to comply, but the hit is up with the customer.
Yep. And you probably live in something similar. I'm a former CPA, so I kind of look at the world, especially a lot with clients, through a financial lens, which is helpful often when I'm like, okay, what's our current cost structure you're living in? Mm-hmm. And are these new solutions, are they going to actually bring financial savings, improvements, and so forth, and then modeling and demonstrating that? And in some ways, it's probably easy to show that. In other ways, it's harder. It's just kind of like, you will save. It is beneficial. Sometimes you have to bite the bullet.
Yes. Yeah. I have a feeling it's more of a long-term savings. It's not, you're not going to see it right now.
That's right. That's right. It's exactly right. So, I like to ask a question. What do you think consumers misunderstand the most in your industry? Maybe misunderstand, or, have certain perspectives about that, aren't always, accurate in
the maintenance side of things.
Yeah.
I would say that a lot of people, there's customers' houses we'll go out to and we'll say, hey, when was the last time you changed your filters?
Yeah.
What filters are you talking about?
Yeah, that's right. There's filters here.
And it's like, okay, all right, let's open this up to the ASAP program, the Armstrong Service Agreement program. So instead of you maintaining this, how about you let us maintain it? Yeah. We'll come out, twice a year, look at your unit, check it, make sure everything's running everything's functioning properly. And we're changing out your filters the way that to keep you healthy.
Do you find a lot of customers are like, please take that headache off my plate? I'd gladly pay a little bit to make sure it's done right, but also just make sure I'm not dropping the ball and I got to replace the whole system.
There's a lot of customers that want that. They want the ease, just being able to say, hey, y'all come show up, y'all take care of everything that's needed. And then there's always going to be the customer that says, I don't want that. And so that's another aspect where we're trying to say, okay, well, we can sell filters. I mean, we can come deliver them to your door and you put them in yourself if that's how you want to do it.
Yep. So as you kind of transition into more of the leadership, I always like to kind of ask the leadership type of questions. And that is, how do you like to lead, either your direct team, or now as you've got, more team members underneath you, what's the leadership influence that you really kind of pull from and you enjoy kind of wanting to see?
So I always pull a team together. I will come up with the vision. We've done personality tests for every employee that works in our office. To see where everybody fits together. And so I actually use those personality tests to say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Here's where my structure is. I'm going to develop a vision, and then I'm going to sit everybody down, and I'm going to use this person to maybe fine tune it. And then we'll use this person once we've fine tuned it, and we've said we're in agreement that this is the process, the way we want to go. Then I may use that person that has tenacity that will finish out the project from 50% to 100, and then we have that closer that goes and implements it and says, hello, here we are. How can I help?
What you mentioned, personality test. I love just some of the different ways that we can, again, diagnostic tools to help us better understand people. Which ones have been really successful for you and your organization? Certain personality tests you guys use, DISC assessments or strength finders, or?
We used, dang, had you not asked,
I'm going to put you on the spot.
It was, Genius. What's it called?
I know what you're talking about.
Something Genius.
Yes. Yep.
Working Genius. There you go.
Yep.
So we use the Working Genius. That was the one that our business coach, we had a business coach coming in with my dad and I working through the succession planning. He mentioned that one. We all jumped on board. But it's just nice because it gives you your two geniuses, gives you the two, two geniuses that may not quite be geniuses, but you're still comfortable. You're not, they're not frustrations to you.
Yep.
You can manage them. And then you've got your two frustrations.
Yeah.
And so there's things that mine's not tenacity. I'm ready. I get the building started.
Yep.
But I want a team to finish it.
Yes.
I procrastinate. My ADHD gets ahead of me.
Yes.
And it won't get finished if you let me try to be that person.
And so valuable to know that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a builder. I'm a creator. I love thinking and brainstorming and powering, but I got my CPA, but dear God, do not let me sit down and do your taxes. I know how to do it, but it would drive me crazy. Yeah. The detailed, logistics that are necessary, really necessary for certain roles in a company. Yeah. Know where you stand, and then really empower the people to be able to play in those roles. That's really rewarding.
Absolutely.
You mentioned generators. I'm gonna go in just a moment. You may know this, but this may be a brainstorm session live on the podcast. How familiar are you? Some of the newer, I don't know if it's Gen 3 generators. There's a certain term my engineering partners will tell me about, where they literally, rather than just serving as a backup capacity, but actually have a discharging capacity with the actual grid. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not real familiar. Like I said, on service side is not my side of the business. I do know the brands that we use. Other than that, that's about all I can provide.
And this is, again, what I love is hearing other organizations and companies and how they're servicing customers. And then sometimes coming along and saying, hey, we can juice that tool, that resource, that product, and really heighten the return, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the things. Certainly batteries have this discharge, recharging capacity, but these new level 3, I think, generators, often they just sit there behind the scenes. Some customers have to have it if they're banking, healthcare, so on and so forth. But we work now, if you're in the ERCOT market, there are energy providers that will pay the customer to turn those generators on at certain points. Most of the time, the customer doesn't need the power, but it's accessible. And we kind of create what I call as a revenue model for the customer.
Oh, yeah.
To say, hey, take that asset that's somewhat static, it's back up. It'll be great when you need it, but for the 98% of the time you don't need it, can we turn on revenue for you? And so I kind of love brainstorming or introducing some of these new business tools in the energy space.
I think it's a great idea to be able to do that.
Yep.
I mean, there's no reason to have a battery sitting there that's not being used. If you're not using it, why not, distribute it back to the grid?
And it's so fascinating too. If you ever work with a customer, you've got customers that own or operate their facilities, like you guys probably own or operate your own facilities, or your commercial asset is income producing. It's a shopping center, it's an apartment complex, it's an office building. And what's, again, another fascinating tool in the energy industry is that we can create revenue generation for that landlord of the shopping center or the apartment building or the office complex. We create a revenue stream that a battery can perform for them, sometimes at no cost, because we've got partners that'll pay for the batteries to install on site. But here's what's fascinating. We'll create revenue for them, but part of the value proposition for a real estate investor is the value of your underlying real estate goes up if you've got more income production or lower expenses. And so we're kind of able to, again, introduce some of these energy tools that literally, like we showed a customer, hey, here's a battery that's going to pay you several $1,000s a year of site revenue. You didn't have to pay for it, but that's also going to improve the value of your property by $200,000. No cost to you. Would that bother you if I improved your value by $200,000?
Absolutely not.
And they're like, what's the catch? And I love this answer. The catch is always, we're in a state that is so power hungry that we're just trying to deploy solutions. And these battery generators do that. So kind of a lot of fun to be at the intersection of this.
Would you get involved with any of these data centers and stuff that are coming this way?
I mean, 100% yes, because it's a heck of a lot of energy. And, part of our business model is we manage the energy contracts. But really, to me, I'm more fascinated by how do we meet this growing demand for energy? And certainly AI data centers are at the top of the food chain of hogging and draining and using it. And we need them, right? I mean, computers are running faster. AI processing needs it. So it's kind of a holistic approach, right? You got to have all energy assets. You got to have nuclear assets. They just take a long time to get out there. Even our existing oil and gas industry, lots of energy production there. New plants take forever. So we kind of have to have short, medium-term solutions, and solar battery generators seem to be that stopgap in the interim. So yeah, it's kind of fun. There's a site out, probably San Angelo, actually. We're talking to some land and AI data center stuff. We'll see. Have the conversations. It's fun.
Exciting.
Okay. We always like to kind of close with our rapid fire questions. So first thing that comes to your brain, Ryan, what's a go-to tool you can't live without?
Right now it's AI.
Yeah.
To be honest, ChatGPT.
That's right.
When you're building something from scratch, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. I mean, AI for sure right now.
And I found with the ChatGPT stuff, it's training your brain of what are the right prompts. It's training your brain. I need to think of how to prompts and then further prompts, right? Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know how to go with this thing.
I was instructing somebody yesterday. I was like, think about it like Google, where back in the day, you didn't want to put too much in there.
Yeah.
With AI, you almost want to put too much in there and let it run with it.
Yeah. And then you can refine it and drill down more, take that right there. That's great. I love it. That's ChatGPT prompts. What's some of the best piece of leadership advice you've heard, received, been under?
Honestly, I think from watching my granddad and my dad, it's part of leadership, but delegation, letting others show them let them show what they can provide to the
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
Let them see what they are actually capable of. To me, that's leadership, even though you're not hands-on,
Yeah.
letting others empower themselves.
That's right. And that's how you grow.
Mhm.
Micromanaging, you can only go so much.
Yep.
That's great. I love that. What's a favorite way that Ryan unwinds after a long, busy day? Anything personal, family?
Watching my son play soccer, I will
Yeah.
say watching.
Yes.
I got the pleasure of coaching him for the past 2 weeks, and
Okay.
that was not a way
The
for me to
coaching wasn't unwinding.
No. Managing people and then trying to go manage kids, not in my wheelhouse right now.
Yeah, that's right. But just the sheer joy of watching him out there. Yeah, that's great.
Watching him have fun.
That's great. I love that. What's one thing every homeowner should know about their home system? Anything in their home systems
It needs maintenance.
Yeah.
You can't just install it and let it go.
Yeah.
It has to be maintained. If you don't know what you're doing, contact a third party to come
That's
out and
right.
help you out.
Contact Armstrong. You need to do that. If you could switch careers for a day, like just for a day, any industry that would interest you or type of role, sports agent.
I would not say sports just because I don't keep up with them enough
Yeah,
to actually
that's right.
go that route. I'd like to see the banking world. I'd like to just see what goes on behind the scenes there.
Yeah. It's a whole animal.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. My first introduction into real estate, it was a huge blessing. I didn't know at the time, but I got into real estate on the brokerage sales side, but the owner of our company was the president of a bank.
Mm-hmm.
And so he just let me literally sit in meetings, ask him tons of questions. And that exposure to how banks operate, what goes behind the scene, loan committees, audits, state stuff, so informed my perspective as we started doing our own projects.
Mm-hmm.
So banking's fascinating. Yep. Last, and what advice would you give your young 20-something self? You could look back to Ryan in your early years and just kind of give some wisdom and advice. What would you say that is?
Stay strong. Don't follow the leader.
Yeah.
Be the leader.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, I'm proud of my history. I had plenty of ups and downs, but it got me where I'm at.
That's right.
Just say yes to everything, get involved. And again, don't be that follower.
Yep.
Be the leader.
Say yes to everything. That's good. You don't know the exposure you get then, how that opens and unlocks people, relationships, skills, opportunities. Yeah, it's huge.
There's plenty of opportunities that have been presented to me where others have said no. I say yes, and all of a sudden you get a trip out of it. You get to go see some manufacturing plant out in San Francisco and those sort of things. It's like that door would never open it up if I wouldn't have just.
That's right.
If I would have just said no, I'm good. I'll hang out.
Yep.
I'll stay here.
Man, I love it. Well, Ryan, thank you. Man, this has been great joining us on the Rise Up podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Tell us if people want to get in touch with you or with Armstrong, what are some of the best ways to either reach you, online, offline?
We are on social media. So Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn. Our website is bettercallarmstrong.com. We have an applications page there. We have information, education, and just anything and everything you want to know about our business.
Bettercallarmstrong.com.
Yes, sir. Something wrong, better call Armstrong.
It's such a good, when did that come from? That's been such a great tagline.
I think my dad added it to the kind of the catchphrase at mid 80s, somewhere in there.
God, that's a long time. That's fantastic. Love it. Better Call Armstrong. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us at the Rise Up podcast. You can, of course, catch Armstrong at Better Call Armstrong. If you want Rise Energy, it's getriseenergy.com. We'd love to service a lot of your areas in energy, help save some stuff. Ryan, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until the next time, you guys make it a great day.